Here we go. Hey, folks, friends, and fiends, how you doing out there in comic book land? Yes, once in a while we do bring you comic book folks, including myself. That's where I got started. And not that I overlooked this guy. I want you guys to meet Brandon Starocci. I was calling Starocci, but because it just sounds classy. But hey, Starocci is all right with me. How you doing there, Brandon?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great because I got to read the five issues, but I own these two. Brandon comes with this book you see before you, Avalon. All right, I got one and two, and proof that I met you. You signed them. Very
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Blown away by this. I'm gonna tell folks where I met you first. Living Dead weekend about a year ago. Amazing. I gotta tell you, when I say this, fiends, you meet a lot of people at these conventions, and they're like-minded. A lot of cases, but it's random. It could be movies, it could be books, it could be comic books, it could be toys, collectibles. But the main theme, I'd say, horror movies bring us all together.
Hmm.
Science fiction, little twist there too. But this little ditty right here, Avalon. It's I'm gonna say it's five issues. I don't know if there's more coming, but you're the writer creator, one of three here. If you want to tell us a little bit about it first, Brandon, so I want to hear it from the boss.
Yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, Avalon is a post-apocalyptic story that we like to kind of market it towards everyone. And we obviously know that's not like a common pitch or something you really want to pitch exactly. But we kind of have a little bit of everything in this kind of story that you would expect in a zombie story. Instead of really following one individual's hero journey, we follow the main family, the Castle family. And what I mean by a little bit of everything. It's not so much zombies in this story. They're almost in the background. You're really understanding the mental health, the physical health of people, the family that you meet, and other people that come across as well. We talk about like again, mental health issues like anxieties and depressions and health issues that people deal with, like sicknesses, cancers, diabetes, things along that nature. So it's like you almost ask yourself, how would I personally survive in a zombie apocalypse based off of the characters we're kind of showing people in this world?
I love everything you just said. And a lot of that has to do with the folks that are welcoming and can't wait for a zombie apocalypse to happen. Bullshit. And you and I know, I think you are you in Erie? Are you up Pennsylvania, up north?
Yes,
Pennsylvania?
Erie, Pennsylvania. Yep.
I'm in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I happen to know that a lot of folks here probably couldn't outrun a zombie horde to begin with, much less deal with all these problems that you're bringing to the that we all have. We all
Hmm.
have it. Cancer, diabetes, they're in my life. They're in all our lives. Everybody knows somebody at this point. And you're adding that, you're sprinkling that on top of this nightmarish apocalypse. And I gotta say, this monster you created. Now, when you say you covered all the bases, you did, and then you did the add-on. Real problems that still happen during a zombie apocalypse, folks. They're still happening. Where are you gonna get your medicine? You know. But you brought something to the table that I admire the most. It's the hardest thing to write and make it emotional. Well, make it real. You brought the fear of family into it.
Hmm.
Now we know Walking Dead did that. Um, but I'm gonna go back to Night of the Living Dead, dude. You nailed it, and not just one family, but two factions. Night of the Living Dead, as we know, there's a family there, and then there's groups broken down. You have brother and sister. You got mother, father, kid, and then strangers that show up. And you covered that. I don't. Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, I would say a little bit there, taking a lot of inspiration, especially from that film. Night of the Living Dead is one of my favorite zombie movies, for many different reasons. Is number one, it's a classic. It's the first one to, George Romero, when he did it, he kind of like rebranded or actually essentially made zombies what they are today. So, taking a lot of inspiration from that movie and the way the characters kind of go and deal with each other. And the ultimate goal is survival in all their heads in their own ways. Um, some could argue one has a better, way of surviving than the other one, but it's just allowing you to pick again your main character when you're watching it. Like obviously it's told like Ben is the main character, but like when you're looking at it, you're like, okay, I could see this person being like that or etc. But yeah, I can't even remember his name that was in the basement. What's his name?
Oh my
Geez.
God. Yeah, you're gonna make me.
That's gonna bother me. But
It's
we know
gonna
who we're
bother me.
talking about here.
Gonna
Where,
bother it's that's gonna bother everybody that's gonna watch this.
I know on the top of my head and talking about it, it's not gonna, of course, it's
I
not gonna
know.
come to me.
And as a
Um,
matter of fact, his girlfriend just was at that show where I met you. She was signing.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome too. Seeing them too and interacting with them. I had an opportunity to the first time I went to one, which was not this past year, the year before, which was awesome. But again, just going back to that too, you have Ben's kind of way of survival and the man that we can't think of right now in the basement, his way of survival as well. Um, are obviously is told to be wrong and the other ones seem to be right, but you could still juggle it and go, okay, this person could be right or this person could be doing this and survive. But it's allowing that and bringing that to life even more so in Avalon as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so Avalon now we got 5 issues. I have 5. You left it open. I don't want to say too much because yeah, it could end where it ends. And kids, I'm going to tell you this. If you think Die Hard's a Christmas film, this is a Christmas comic book. Yeah,
I'm glad you caught it too.
oh yeah,
And
are you kidding me? Yeah,
it,
yeah, like right here, I think it was issue 5. This doesn't look like a. I know it doesn't look like one, folks. Does not look like Christmas, but I was it issue 5. The finale is called Last Christmas.
So Last Christmas is issue 3.
Oh,
Um, and again, so we obviously, when you're looking a little bit into the panels, you'll see that there's Christmas decorations and stuff like
yeah.
that up.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
to kind of give a little bit of a time frame for people who are reading it, it takes after the week after Thanksgiving. So it's in December. You're getting into the Christmas spirit and all that stuff too. I love that this time of year since it's December now too, and we're getting Christmas
Mhm.
coming up here. But I love this time of year. It adds a whole thing to it. Like everything's supposed to be jolly, even though it's chaotic at the same time. But then when you're adding a twist of zombie and chaos into the mix of all that and the family drama, because that could be picking up around this time of year too, depending on your family interactions and all that stuff too. So it's just like it's a fun time. Usually it's supposed to be a fun time, but you can mess with a lot of different things and make it chaotic.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, bills being one of them. Dealing with all your family all at once is a huger one. But yeah, bringing it all together, and of course, gosh, there's just the element of well, do you watch horror movies during the season?
I watch them when I can. When I see something good that I feel like I'm going to be interested in, no matter what time of year, I'm kind of gravitating towards it if it is good.
Well, because it is that time of year, I'm going to tell you right now. Yeah, see here. I'll show you my shirt first of all. Can you see this?
Yes,
All right. Yeah, we get in the season here a little bit.
love
There's
that.
tunes from the swamp behind me right now. Sorry about that. But yeah, the frogs do let loose every now and then. I do celebrate Christmas. I almost said Halloween, but we love Halloween here. So there's kind of a moratorium on watching horror movies in December. We kind of like it levels out for a little while, and I get into the spirit. I love Rankin and Bass. I don't know where you are with that, but I just Rankin and Bass hold a personal place in my heart just because I grew up with them.
Hmm.
But us horror fans, we could segue into all that stuff, but then it only makes our stuff that much more fun when we come back to it.
Yeah.
What got you into is what comic books your thing? Were you writing first? What like how did this book come about?
So neither really. I was never really a comic person growing up. I was never a writer growing up either. I mean, honestly, I probably wasn't a good writer at all. Uh, at any point in my life. It was something where I wanted to be a director. I loved film. I loved cinema and all that stuff too. That was my kind of goal and my dream at that point when I was a senior in high school. So and again, I love the zombie genre, but so this kind of idea, a premature idea that I had with Avalon before it was actually what it is today, was in
Mhm.
my head back when I was a senior in high school back in 2014. So if people want to do age, math and all that stuff too, you can kind of get that. But so, it's about 10 years old. I meet Alan several years later. We kind of collaborate on trying to, get out of our normal day jobs that suck. We want to get into the creative kind of world. And we kind of collaborate and trying to figure out what we want to do. I told him I had this idea with Avalon before it was. We kind of go back and forth. We figure it out. And then, then is born Avalon. He has a background, and he had his own band. He was in a band his whole life, and he wrote music a lot too. So he kind of applied a lot of that into kind of really just showing me the ropes and kind of just writing and just storytelling as well. Because if anybody is into music or dabbled a little bit in music as well, they can understand like there is a lot of writing that actually goes into it. And I didn't even know that go at all until I met Alan, and he kind of was going through all that stuff as well, and which is cool. And I picked up on a lot of that and met a lot of awesome people at the conventions, like you mentioned as well, and had people a part of the team so I could grow and be better as a writer and just storyteller in general. And it just over push comes to shove over years, here we are, you know what I mean? So we're doing something, we're just keeping at it, and we have a story to tell and we want to get it out there for people to read.
It's an amazing story. And I say that I love the simplicity of it.
Hmm.
Some people go too deep, and then you have a whole issue one of mumbo jumbo that's not interesting. You guys, you introduce the characters perfectly, and the action just go. It's 5 issues of motion, things happening, and I can see. By the way, you guys just passed the Academy of Kettle Whistle Radio because you have a musician involved. We play a lot of music here, and yes, that definitely works. And they know they're doing math, whether they know it or not. If you're a musician, you have to be good at math because all timing and tempo,
Yep.
and a lot of writers. Like I talked to this guy. I'm gonna break out one of my toys right now. This guy Chase Will, who does this book, when he was on, and he was banned from Barnes and Noble, not with this particular collection, the Entombed collection, where dreams are entombed, but we discussed motion in writing and creating a fast pace. Just you could be listening to Metallica's Ride the Lightning all the way through and have 3 chapters written, but it doesn't make sense in the story. There are times and places to do it. But if you're a musician, which one is he now on the cover here? I have you, Mr. Starocci. And what is it? Not Nastus?
Nastos, yes, Demetrius
Nastos.
Nastos.
Is he the one? Is he the musician?
No, Alan Dingfelder was.
Dingfelder. Okay, Dingfelder. Is
Yeah.
he in a band right now?
No, currently he's not. He was in, like I said, he was in a band, young adult, teenage, all that stuff, and then he kind of stopped with it as well. Again, real life kind of hits you, and you gotta get your day job that kind of holds you back and all that stuff too. So
Ooh.
that's part of the reason why we made 1282, which is our production on top of the comic that you see as well. And
Uh-huh.
and that's kind of the idea is we're slowly branching towards just creative stuff. He wants to kind of get back into that as well and just separate from just the day job stuff that kind of keeps you in a mundane lifestyle. So we want to kind of create and just get into that and just exercise our brains a little bit more than the average job does. And this is what we want to do, and that this is the direction for it.
It takes a lot more time than you suspected. I
Yes.
know that. I know this. And how do I know? Well, I again, I love my toys. This is Dr. Peeler. This is a comic book that we made. Bob Hoagland and Jess Weary. We issue 2. We've been working on it. It takes a lot. It's a lot of work, so I totally understand. I've had several independent comics, and this will be probably like my 8th.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a lot of work. People don't understand. It's expensive too.
Very.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, when I met you at Night of Living Dead weekend, rather, were you staying there, or were you just like commuted to there every day, or
So the Evans City one,
yeah?
when we did that one, I just commuted there. But when we were in Monroeville, I stayed down there for the weekend.
And
Yes.
that's where the expenses come in.
Hmm.
Some of my
Agreed.
favorite shows are in Indiana. Indianapolis Days of the Dead being my favorite. What a great time. But yeah, you're traveling like a band, and you're not making any money doing it. Sometimes you're putting more money into it than you're getting back, usually than what you're getting back. But you must have gotten some fans out of this. Are you getting some people that come back like, hey, when's the next issue? When's the graphic novel? Or do you get
Oh,
that?
100%, and over the years, and this is why, sometimes it's hard to trust the process, but when you kind of get this reassurance when you go to events that returning customers and people who actually will ask questions about the comic or bring it up to you when you're at events, that's where you're like, okay, yeah, everything's going smoothly, everything's going according to plan. It's always nice to do that and have people come up and talk to us and again, returning people, and then, oh,
Mhm.
I've seen this before, and then all that stuff. So it's just that's why, I've gotten to a point right now where I am just trusting the process and just kind of moving through the motions and making sure everybody part of the team is just, we're all doing what we need to do to kind of continuously get this comic out for people to read and for people to kind of experience, because one thing, one part of the story obviously is the story itself, the written story. And then we have another story that Demetrius, kind of with the artwork as well. He tells a story with his artwork alone, which is such a beautiful thing he's able to do, and we're very, very lucky to have him and continue to have him. It's just been awesome to kind of see Avalon at its full potential. I feel like, especially having an artist like Demetrius kind of showcasing it for people to kind of again experience it and see everything and have it unfold.
What he's talking about, it's right here. Do you mind me showing a
Yeah,
page?
go ahead. Yep,
I
100%.
mean, you could see inside here, folks. What I love about this, and I love the partial coloring that you do, because color is expensive, folks, and you found
Very.
that out too. So you got to use it sparingly, and I love how you use it sparingly. Oh, that might be a spoiler. Nope, just issue one, folks. Don't worry. Um, I'm amazed at the emotion that he captures in the
Oh yeah.
characters' faces. Just huge emotion, and you got in the interactions. I mean, you're dealing with three brothers, a family, mother and father, and three brothers. And one's a cop, and you're dealing with his Miller is his partner. They're out on patrol, and they're running into a situation somewhere where the rest of the family's at a diner somewhere. Then you meet Miller's family, bits and pieces, and here and there. And eventually, there's a neighbor that gets involved. But you did it so nicely. You made it feel like we knew these people, and they're right there on a page, but they're coming out at you. And I really enjoyed that. I didn't want anything to happen to these people. Most times you're reading a comic book, you're like, when's somebody gonna die? This sucks. This cast is too huge. I didn't want anybody to die, and that's rare for me. Yeah, it's just you fall in love with them. He captures eyes and facial expressions really well, motion. How long have you guys known each other?
Since we started so we started like production for it, I'll call it, in 2021, but we published issue one in 2022. So 3 years, just going on 4 years now.
Mhm.
It's awesome to kind of reflect on it because I feel like I've known him a lot longer, and he actually lives in Greece. So we've had like a online social relationship basically. So it's just like chatting with each other and how he's able to kind of understand what I'm saying, not only because it's like I don't believe English is his first language. He speaks very good English, but
Mhm.
to have him understand English number one and then have him understand through social media is just like and be able to just completely get it too. Like that's why he's literally the project, with Avalon and how he kind of like grabs you, like you said, with expressions. He just based off of the artwork and how they look and in certain parts of the stories when it's supposed to be sad, they look upset, they look
Yeah,
depressed for lack of a better term as well. Like you feel
devastated.
for some of these characters based off of what he's showing you as the artist.
Yeah. Yeah, it tells the story. You're right. Now you as a writer, I know what this is like. First I got to comment on that. The first artist I dealt with, actually the second one, was in Vietnam, and
Really.
she couldn't speak English too well, but my publisher hired her to do Demon Eye with us, and it's a full color anime comic. But yeah, she didn't know anything either. She didn't know too much English, so there was a lot of, mostly was storyboards, and I'd have to send her a storyboard, and then she'd come back, hair gray, hair white, like little things like that, blood on this page, or um, did you guys? There's been fights with artists back and forth. That happens. Did you guys ever have like he's just like he couldn't interpret one of your storyboards or for a page, or there's too much content on this page, I can't fit it all in? Did you run into that?
Here and there, but never in a confrontational way. There's definitely been times where um, not even so much lately though too. That's the beautiful thing that I think the relationship between Demetrius and I at this point have kind of had has just been I trust him at this point more than anything. I even told him like a month or so ago because I was going to be on a small hiatus due to family stuff, but I told him, I said, look, I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks here. Just bang out these pages. I trust you. Send them as you finish them, but just if I don't comment on them, then then just keep moving because I trust him at this point. It's that trust over the years and kind of seeing all the stuff he's been given. Even there's even been parts when I send him the script, he reads it and then he reads it as a job second time around, and then he comes up with ideas based off of what I'm giving him, and 99% of the time we're rolling with them. You know what I mean? Because I feel like number one, he's a horror fan. Number two, he loves this story, so he's told me. So he really cares for this title and he really cares for these characters as well as we do in the writing room. So it's an awesome experience for me because I've had we were working with artists with Avalon before I met Demetrius, and they didn't go too hot. You know what I mean? Business is business and stuff happens, but
I
meeting
totally
Demetrius,
understand. I totally
it,
get
it
it.
yeah, you know what I mean? You get it. So but I acknowledge that we have something special with Demetrius, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, when you find the right people, and I have worked with the right people. I've
Yeah,
met some of the wrong people along the way, and
sure.
then I worked with great people. Honestly, all of them that I've worked with have been great. But yeah, it's tremendous amount. Yeah, you know what? Hold on to that relationship. If you guys have that good working relationship, I'd say do another project. Um, I guess this is funny. I should tell everyone I had I own issue 1 and 2 right here because I met you, and then 3 and 4 I bought digitally. We'll get into where you can get that, folks. And then 5, for some reason I couldn't get it right away, and I was in such suspense. I was dying to read issue 5. I couldn't wait to see how this thing ended, and I was very satisfied. Even if it ends that way, but would I want to see more? Absolutely. That if it ends there, perfect. And that's how you want it to be, because you have some closure, but this could continue and be a monster franchise. Where do we go from here?
So yeah, there is an issue 6. So our volumes, our seasons is what we're calling them for our own brains. We have 6 issues a season. We are working on season 2. We're about to finish up the writing for season 2.
Excellent.
Um, and it's going to be an ongoing series until I feel like number one, I ran out of ideas, or I feel like I'm about to ruin it. So I think I'm very confident with the next few seasons, I'll say, because season 3, the idea of season 3 is really the reason why we're doing Avalon in the first place. You
I
know,
knew there was a bigger picture here. I knew it.
there is a bigger picture. Like I said, season 3 is why we're doing it in the first place. And in my opinion, I haven't seen. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be things like that are alike in this category because a zombie comic is a zombie story is a zombie. You know what I mean? Romance movies are same as romance movies. They have similarities, but there's differences. But season 3, there's going to be a cool difference that is brought into the zombie genre that I personally haven't seen. Maybe it's out there, I don't know, but I personally have not seen it. And I'm very excited to tell that story.
I'm so happy to hear you say that because I felt a tremble in the force. And I say tremble, not tremor. I was just like, oh, they're gonna go somewhere I've been wanting someone to go to, and I'll ask you off air maybe. But the fact that you brought in ailments, cancer, heart condition, the
Hmm.
mother Andrea, right?
Yep.
Andrea has a
Yep.
heart condition, and diabetes, like insulin, would be a major issue with the
It's one
amount
of
of diabetics in this world, and I have it in my family. I'm familiar with it, very familiar with it. Insulin not being available is terrifying.
scary. Yeah, very scary.
A lot of people. Oh wait, I'm sorry. One of the producers just showed up. I'm sorry. This happens every now and then. Can you see Jet? Yeah, she's struggling here. This is Jet Marie. She just kind of opened the door and came in. Oh, great.
Camera shy.
I know. Yeah, she knocks down everything. There we go. And that's what we get when the producers walk in the room.
They just turn the table upside down.
Unattended. Yeah, they knock over shit. But yeah, what can I do? But anyway, so how are you going to handle situations like well, I don't know where you're going to go with that, like with people with ailments like that. We going to, I'm not going to say who or what, I don't want to give spoilers, but are we going to get to a hospital with these people, or are we going to see people just not get what they need? I mean, show a realistic point of view, or
So one thing I'll say as well is with Avalon, we like to take in as much as possible without ruining it. That is, take a very realistic approach to this world, and by that meaning the characters, the world, the drama, the stress, the chaos, and most importantly the zombies. The zombies as well have take a is a big question that we had before we even started this thing, and how can we make it as realistic as possible? Obviously, there's some fictional. It's zombie story, so there's going to be fiction in it. You know what I mean? That's how it is. But how can we get it as real as possible without ruining it either? So that's kind of like the common understanding with this story and telling it in that manner. There's the producer. There's the producer.
The brains behind the operations, Benny.
Good
But
job, Benny.
yeah, I'm sorry. They really have taken over my studio, and they do this quite often. So
It
my
happens. Trust me.
apologies. My apologies. And I had to pick him up because he was wrapped up in the wire. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, they're killing me right now. They're absolutely killing me. But this is what I would say this doesn't happen all the time. It's every episode.
Well,
So,
that's good. That's good.
but yeah, I mean, it keeps things interesting. I mean, he knocked the wire right out of my head just now, but that's producers for you. And this is why we work without producers mostly.
Yeah.
My God. All right. So I'm thinking when you did this with your characters, it seems like some of these things are very personal. I don't know if it's the family units. Are they based on anybody?
Yeah, of course. All the characters that people are going to read, there's definitely a lot of inspiration from my life as an individual, a lot from my family, a lot of people from who I'm friends with, consider family, know good and bad relationships. It's just going to be, a lot of stuff that's happened in my life that I've seen and other people in the writing room as well. That's something that I tell them when they're a part of this team is just I want the realness and the rawness of your life into this comic. How can we dramatize it a bit too, because we're telling a story here. We want some chaos and a good story in itself, but how could, what are some things that you've seen, heard, conversations you've had? Like a lot of this stuff is real. It's funny because even the conversation between Andy and Miller when they're walking into the apartment too is a very
Oh,
real conversation with
yes. Yeah.
the talking about having to I don't know, do you swear on this?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
all the time,
I
man.
didn't want to go ahead and do it, but like how they're talking about having to shit after eating some meatball sliders too. So it's just that's a very real conversation that a buddy and my of mine and I had with each other, and it's just like funny to kind of see it in that kind of context and all that stuff as well. But applying all that stuff into this world again, it brings that rawness, that real kind of feel to it, and just basic dialogue in a lot of categories as well. It's not going to be very complicated. Some even might even think it's wrong dialogue, but we're doing it in a way on purpose, in a way where it sounds like somebody would actually
Oh,
not like something where you'd read it on a piece of paper. It sounds like something that's coming out of somebody's mouth. So not a lot of people use a lot of grammar properly and punctuation properly and all that stuff as well. So some of that stuff is done purposefully and and for a reason. You know what I mean? So it sounds a little bit more authentic and real.
definitely. Where I don't know how smoothly everything ran for you from through the 5 issues I read. Was there a point where you hit a roadblock? You're like, what do we do at this point? Was there a challenge?
Yeah. So when we hit so when we, after three, so when the funny thing is this is learning stuff as a writer and getting better over time. The issues 1 through 3 that you read were actually condensed so much into one issue through 24 pages. So imagine all the events that you saw from 1 to 3 condensed in one issue. So we obviously took that back before we started doing the art and rewrote that, in my opinion, way better because you're letting a lot of those scenes breathe and allowing all that stuff to kind of
Yeah, yeah,
impact the reader. So after we did that, we're like, okay, geez, what's the goal? What are we getting at? What can we tell in these next few issues here to make it interesting enough to get where we need to get? And I think we did that very, very well.
yes.
We actually we took it back. We sat down. We actually reread everything, made sure of it, and that goes through the growth and development as as a team and writing. Especially myself, this is something that I was learning along the way. And at this point, I've developed a way better scheme of uh, creating a story, a season, and getting ready for it rather than I did in the first 6 issues. 7 through 14 are going to be a lot better structure wise, in my opinion, because I've learned all those kind of things
Mhm.
through the first 6 issues.
And you will. And you said the infamous for me, issue three lives in infamy with one of the first projects I did. This goes in the early 2000s, and it was a four-issue comic book series called World Zombie Wrestling Association. It was a
Mhm.
comedic thing, kind of Planet of the Apes meets, well, Night of the Living Dead meets Buck Rogers, and it was kind of it was humorous, but had a serious side to it. But issue three, it's like the first one you're establishing your environment, your characters, and a little bit of the story. Two, you dig into the story with the characters you have, and then three comes and everything gets mishmash. And as a writer, you're like, oh, now
Jeez.
we can go and do whatever we want. And no, you can't.
No.
You need to
Yeah.
pull it back, and you need to still bring back things from one and two. But it's very important to give your artist room to breathe and build that and that playground, the atmosphere. And I had to learn as a writer to not trip over and put too much into panels, because you got to let the artist breathe, and they tell the story themselves. They don't need you. They don't. If you have a great idea, you're lucky that they'll do it for you. That's the way I
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
And I also dodged certain death from an artist that was going to kill me if I didn't broaden my spectrum and make it issue 3 and 4 and stretch it out. I got ahead of myself, and writers do that, and that's why we
It's
have
very easy.
editors and producers.
Yeah, 100%. It's very easy, and that's why we have a team because I can get a lot of wild ideas. Man, I go through so many different, arcs and different things, and I'm like, okay, this would be cool, this would be cool, and then I'm writing it, and then a week later, I'm like, oh no, this needs to happen instead, and then it's just like I can go crazy with it as long as That's why I like having a team, an editor, another writer, a part of the team as well, and just making sure that we're hitting these points and getting the ultimate goal with a good story in the middle of it as well.
With you on that. I like the three-prong attack. That's what we
Yeah,
have. It's Jess,
yeah,
Bob, and myself. Yes.
yeah.
And when I hit a dead end, one of them will come up and you give me ideas, and it
Mhm.
works. Or sometimes, you know what, you probably, maybe you've done this. You took for granted what an artist can draw. I wasn't sure whether or not Bob was good at doing armor, mecha, and planes and things like that, and he needed some stuff. I dug into some old Robotech issues and I broke out some mecha and planes. I was like, I need this. And then he knew what I was talking about.
Yeah,
But I can't think. It's funny how you can't convey a message to an artist and the artist can't do it to a writer. You really see it in two different perspectives.
100%. No, that's something that I've seen and kind of learned over the last couple of years, and I would like to think I'm getting better at it, but like every time something else comes up, you're like, okay, it's another obstacle. You got to figure it out. You got to work with each other, and I
Yeah.
think it's a perfect relationship. It's just like if anybody who's married or has a significant other as well, it's like you got to complement each other, and I think that's definitely a way a writer and an artist is. You have two different outlooks on things, but you have to complement each other in the best way possible. And if you have, I guess you're Demetrius, I think then you're on for good things because um, if again we just trust each other and we complement each other in such a beautiful way that I'm very very grateful for.
Man, hold on to it. Yeah, you got to do all 3 seasons. I can't wait for the next one, man. So issue 6, when can I get issue 6 for this one?
So issue 6, we're hoping to be done by January. We put that on the Kickstarter for January to kind of fulfill by the end of January. Artists Demetrius had to deal with some things back at home a month ago, so it kind of paused
Mm.
production a bit, but we're still set on that end of January kind of fulfillment for the Kickstarter. As soon as everybody's fulfilled on Kickstarter, we're going to put it on our store for everybody else to kind of get their hands on it.
Awesome, man. I recommend it to everybody. It doesn't matter how many zombie comics or movies or whatever you read. This one, it's a fresh take. And when I say that, it's almost in one take. I could see that at like a Riot filmmaking, like they just take that camera and just roll through each issue. It's like a shooting script the way
Yeah.
you did it. And I think a good comic book should be that way. We've all grown. I don't know, were you into superheroes when you were a kid, or were you like me that you would look for that one horror comic on the rack?
So, comics itself were kind of not my, cup of tea when I was a kid or even a teenager.
That's what you
But
said.
superheroes were, it a little bit, but even the horror, my dad was a huge horror fan, so I always automatically generated towards that in general, if it was movies or whatever it was. I always kind of went towards that. I obviously love the bigger superheroes, but the horror genre, You could do a lot with it, and they could get very, very fun and
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah, it goes to another plane of existence. So, and I'm really curious to see where you go with this and bringing in that human element. That's what people forget. That's why The Walking Dead was good,
Yeah.
coming off the heels of Romero, which I should. Yeah, I've only shown this. I showed this last on one episode. I read this. Did you read Romero's last book?
I
Um,
don't believe so.
yeah, the Living Dead. This is a novel. He kind of when he did this and Daniel Kraus is finishing it, you'll see there's a lot more Romero stuff out right now because they're releasing a lot of stuff he had. This is a long book, but it's great. He took the World War Z approach, but he did it first and better.
Yeah.
In this case, the characters, and I so wanted this to happen in World War Z, the characters come together as opposed to just chapters that never come together. Romero freaking did it. And that, like when I started writing, I did something similar. It was a practice, a very hard practice, but I got mad at World War Z. I'm like, all these great chapters, but there's nothing flowing through the whole thing. It's just bits and particles that never come together. Well, Romero did it. I recommend that book. There's got to be a movie being made with this thing. I don't know. Do you see yours on the screen? Do you see a cartoon, anime? How do you see this if somebody was to buy it from you, let's say?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like that's the ultimate goal because the ultimate idea was originally supposed to be a movie way back then. I mean, I think a series would be more beneficial for what we're telling now.
Yeah.
But that was the original idea, was to see it on screen, and not to say comics are cheap because we already clarified that, but it was
Oh,
the cheapest approach that I could fulfill. You know what I mean?
yes.
And get the interact or the story I wanted to get out. At the same time. So
True.
that's why it's a comic book. And I've developed such a love for comics at this point, and the creating process, and just knowing what all goes into it. Now I have a much more higher appreciation for reading comics, any comic for that matter anymore. But it's I really fell in love with the comic world. After doing our own comic here. But definitely, to answer your question, it's meant to be on screen. I feel like,
I feel
especially
like it
with
too.
the
Somebody
yeah.
somebody could have a blast with that one. I don't know where you'd go with that. It's somebody that's really good at action films,
Hmm.
that somebody that did a CSI type show, because you got a lot of there's a lot of well, detective work, not really, but it's like cops in motion and going from one scene to the next. You get a lot, and then riot patrol situations. It's at some point too. I noticed. I don't know if this was on purpose. Maybe it was just me reading it. You sometimes it doesn't matter if you know the difference between rioting people and zombies because in the end, the whole play everybody would be chaos.
Yeah.
Is the idea that you can't trust anyone and the zombie they're well the zombies are evolving before right on the print in front of you sometimes. um are you going with the bad guy route, like there's so many bad guys out there too with these zombies, or are you just going to stick with what you got going on now?
So there's going to be different ways that this unfolds over the time frame. There's going to be certain characters who believe that, and there's going to be certain characters who believe no, we need to come together. And I won't confirm or deny if they're main characters or not, but
Yeah.
you'll be able to see some of that bickering throughout the series, and also to talk on the zombies and the evolution route. I don't know if this is exactly where you're going, but evolution, like, there's going to be, I'll say it very loosely, there's going to be an evolution to our zombie.
Right.
And that doesn't necessarily mean, okay, they're going to transform into like this Resident Evil type of thing. No, but infections, viruses, parasites, they evolve. They do different things, and they other
Yeah.
abilities and all that stuff as well. Whatever they do, so that's going to be something that comes in time with the infected in Avalon too. So you're going to see a difference. It could be better, it could be worse for them. There's going to be a difference over time, a time frame with our infection as well.
That's so refreshing to hear. I've been waiting to see somebody do what you. I saw the direction you were going. As a writer, I can tell. I'm like, there's more. They're
Yeah.
going deeper. And they're pulling out the feels. I like this, and I got involved. I got involved with your characters. And if this is a spoiler, I'll edit this part. As far as characters that may or may not have bad decision making ability or go a different route, or I'm gonna say the characters Danny and Ty. Those two stick out as they may see things a little bit differently and maybe for self-preservation reasons. Did I
I
pick up
wouldn't.
or
I'll
no?
say I won't say you're wrong, but I
Okay.
won't say you're right.
That's okay. All right, that's cool. All right. Because I noticed some things there stirring. I'm like, where is this gonna go?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, you don't have to. And then
I'll say you're on to something. That's what I'll say.
okay, because I there's definitely some I didn't like certain elements. First time I didn't like somebody in your book, I was like, ooh, I don't trust that. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it was those two characters because maybe they don't live, folks. I'm not giving that away either. Maybe they do. I don't believe in spoilers. I hate them. I never want to know about them. But sir, you've created something really cool with this Avalon. Where did the name come from? Is it like a other than what it is?
It, so it's funny. There's a small story that I'll kind of mention or share real quick. Avalon has three meanings in this story, in this title. Avalon is the obvious, small subtle spoiler at this point, but they're going to a place called the Avalon. Okay. Now, there's two other reasons that I will not spoil because they're not anything. It's basically it's something we're big Easter egg fans. We're big hidden in plain sight fans. So two other reasons you could do your own research if you ever wanted to, if you ever
Actually,
cared to.
up there, right? Your numbers are right up here.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I saw that and I saw it on the license plate too. I caught that.
Yep, yep. See, yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
I'm glad you did because that's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of hidden messages, a lot of spoiler, or a lot of Easter eggs. But again, the other two reasons why it's called Avalon is if you simply do your research on Avalon, you'll be able to figure something out or have some sort of suspicions on it because that's what we did, and we liked a couple of the things that we saw and kind of figured out with that title as well because the original idea was just okay, they're going to the Avalon. That would be kind of a cool name. It's different. It rings a bell. It's not
mhm.
your of the dead or kills or zombies kind of thing. It's separate from speaking zombie. It's just what it is. It's a separate
I'm very
target.
impressed. I'm glad that I knew it was deeper. I knew there was something more there. Before we wrap things up, why don't you tell everybody where to find these 5 issues, these lovely issues, and purchase them physically or digitally?
Yeah, you can get them physically or digitally. Digitally, we're doing a kind of like a special right now, $1.99 per issue PDF. Um, you can get them on avaloncomic.com. We have a store on there for people to check out and kind of get their hands on all of the issues. You can find us on all social media platforms. I'm not even going to really mention them. Anywhere you look up Avalon Comic, you'll be able to find us on all the socials. Please follow us. We want to hear people's opinions, read it as well. Let us know what you think. At myself, as an individual, I want to get better as a writer. So if you have critiques, you have things you want to mention, read it. Let us know. We'd love to hear from everybody.
Very interactive. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and you could only get better with more, the more you put into it. And people will tell you when you suck, and that doesn't mean
Yeah,
you did. Just means they didn't like it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you suck. You put yourself out there, so that already doesn't suck. But yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm looking forward to it. Are you gonna do that thing that people do eventually with I hate calling them trades. I grew up, they were graphic novels. Are you gonna put them out as graphic novels eventually, or
Yes. So the goal, the plan is around. We're hoping, this might be tentative for right now. Springtime is when we're looking for that because Demetrius is going to be remastering the art style for issue one. You could tell after reading it, issue one has a different art style. It's same, still him, but he kind of found himself after issue two, and kind of developed over three and four and five. So he's remastering issue one, and we're going to combine that into the graphic novel and so if you're a collector by any means,
yeah,
we're only
yeah.
doing one more print run of the original issue one art. And as soon as that sells out, we're just going to be printing the remastered issue one. So for any
Love it.
collectors, anything out there as well, that would be something to kind of get your hands on because
Yeah.
one more print run of that and then it's over.
Any conventions we're gonna see you around?
Yes, of course. So obviously nothing confirmed yet. We're in that process at the end of the year, early next year to kind of solidify it. But yeah, I'm looking to be at all of the events in Erie, the Erie Con, Erie Horror Fest, Living Dead event again coming up here. I think it's in June, I believe is when it is,
Yeah.
June or
All right.
July,
Yeah,
one of
I'm
the
glad
July.
I'm glad you told me that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got to get ready for that too. These things you got to book. So June, that's Living Dead weekend. That's going to be Monroeville.
Yes, again. Yep.
They don't do it outside of Zelienople anymore, Evans City rather. They use. I don't know if they're going to do that anymore. I missed that. That was fun. That's what. That's where.
I've been to both. I wasn't there before the one a couple years ago. I didn't mind Evan City at all. I actually really enjoyed that one. You know what I mean? But obviously Monroeville's awesome. You got the
Yes.
shopping mall and all that stuff. You have a lot more to do there and a lot
Yes.
more space to kind of get people to come. But Evan City had like a charm to it. You know what I
Yeah, of
mean?
course.
It
Big
did.
time charm. As long as it was a nice day, you had a good time there.
Yeah.
I share something else with you on this show. I talk about it, but I don't usually don't get to show it. We've only started doing video recently because I don't want to see myself. But this you see this little bottle here?
Mm,
Okay. In this studio here, I've had Mr. John Russo in here more than a few times. And as we know, co-wrote Night of the Living Dead with
yeah.
Romero, the original. And just a lovely guy. I know you've probably met him by now. He's always
Yep.
around at these conventions. But this bottle, this is what he partook. He took this before we recorded him singing. So I've talked about it here. He sang for his soundtrack. We recorded one song in here. And this is what he drank before he did that. And I always talk about it. Like if you listen to the podcast, folks, you get a lot more. We go longer, and there's music and everything else. Just like this episode, there'll be more added to it. Sun King Warriors will be featured actually on it. Great local band. But yeah, we talk about this. Now you get to see the bottle I've always been talking about. Russo cannot deny that.
Yes. And speaking of John Russo, I got his signature on Avalon here.
How badass is that?
So
Oh,
one thing I kind of came to terms with here as I'm not a big fanboy person. I don't like to fanboy or whatever over any celebrities per se, but there's it's something that I told myself. This is an original print, one of the first prints of Avalon. People that I take a lot of inspiration from, or in this case as well. I have Greg Nicotero and Chandler Riggs's autograph on here as well from The Walking Dead. 'Cause I'm a huge fan of it. But just getting the autographs and having them all sign this, the front, the back, the interior, whatever. Over the years, that's going to be something that I kind of do with it. I think that's such a cool thing
it is.
to do and have that all those
It's
people that mean a lot.
amazing. You have this personalized tattoo you can hang on the wall.
Yeah, 100%. And then having John Russo's on there, obviously he had a huge part to do with Night of the Living Dead, and even after as well. I take a lot of stuff from him as well, and chatting with him. Actually, at the last Living Dead event, I didn't talk to him the first one, unfortunately, but the one in Monroeville, I had a chance to talk to him for 10, 15 minutes, and he awesome. I asked
Great
him
guy.
a lot of questions too, and it was cool
Great
talking to him.
talker. And I just did an interview with Mike Ankus from Day of the Dead. He was a featured zombie, and now he made his own documentary, Chasing Zombies. Got to see it with the Romero family, everybody that's still around, and the filmmaking
Awesome.
family. Oh man, it was great. It was
That's
in
awesome.
McDonald, PA, little theater. Great experience. You guys could listen to the episode. It's like two back. But hey man, I gotta say, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. Do you want people to find you anywhere else? Your Facebook, obviously.
Yeah, just again, just Avalon Comic. You can friend me on Facebook as well, Brandon Starocci, if you can spell the last name. Avalon Comic is I'm always on there as well. Just follow us on all socials. Again, if you put a review of Avalon, whether you liked it or not, on our Facebook page, and you actually get featured onto our web page as well. Given a review as well. So anybody who does want to put a review out there, it goes a long way on our website as well, and it showcases that on Facebook.
And I don't know how anybody could read your first issue and not want to finish it. I
Thank
challenge
you. Thank you.
anybody. I challenge anybody that's a fan of this type of art. Try to just read one. I don't think so. I think you're going to want all of them. Thank you so much. As always, folks, I'm going to tell you we're fairlydarkproductions.com. You can get all the Kettle Whistle Radio episodes. You can look at comic books and books there too. Go to celebrationofspirits.com as well. We are Spotify and iHeartRadio station as well. Brandon Starocci. I like saying Starocci. I'm
Yeah,
always
it's fine. It works. No, I do
Starocci.
too.
It's Starocci, but it kind of rings. It's got a ring to it. I thank you so much for doing it. Thank you for signing my comics,
Thank
and
you.
I really enjoyed this. I'll be buying issue 6 very soon. And before you go, horror movie. What's your favorite horror movie or style of horror movie?
So I always have to stick true to my first one that I was ever shown, which is Halloween '78, and love that film. It was my first horror film. My dad showed me when I was very, very young. And
Mhm.
the reason I say it too is because I had the same nightmare of Michael Myers chasing me around my grandma's house for like 15 years.
Whoa.
So that that one's got to be my favorite. It stuck out, you know, memories with that one, and really enjoy that one.
Yeah, I'd say Carpenter hit something visceral with you, man.
It definitely did.
Something he tapped into something. Then you have to be a fan, and it tis the season. Black Christmas. You got to watch the original Black Christmas '74.
I'll
Did you
have to. I have
know?
not yet.
It's on Tubi right now, free. I highly recommend it, and you're going to be surprised at maybe two cast members in it. Very well done and very unapologetic horror movie. And you don't need a lot of blood and guts to be scary. I'm just saying. And that's there's not many. I don't think there's any blood spilled in the original Halloween, right?
Barely, if any. You know what I mean? It's not very. It's there, but not as gruesome as
Right.
films now.
Well, listen, thanks so much for doing the show. We will
Thank you.
track your progress and always check back with us. And thanks for coming on to Kettle Whistle Radio.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me on here to talk about it.
You got it, man. And whoa, we are still filming. This happens every time. So
No, I know. I get it.
Zoom is such a pain. And what can I tell you? But we're gonna say goodnight, folks. Oh, okay. I'm gonna end it right now. I'm gonna ask you to stick around though, if you would.
Okay.